Hi, Abby. My name is Taylor, and I'm a student nurse. And I was just going to ask you a few questions about your family. And I have a list of questions here in front of me, and just answer them to the best of your ability. Do you have any questions before we get going?
Nope.
All right. So, can you tell me who is in your family?
So it's my mom and dad, and then I have two younger brothers.
Okay. And how old are each family member?
My dad is 49, my mom is 47, Jack is 17, and Joe is 15.
So, Jack, 17, Joe is 15?
Yep.
All right. What are the unique traits of each family member?
I would say that my mom is really generous. She's really good at being really loving and being aware of other people and how they're feeling. My dad is a really, really hard worker, and he's been a really good teacher as we've been growing up about the value of hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Jack is a really good musician. He's the worship band leader at our church, and he plays in the orchestra. And Joe's really quirky, I guess. He's really into his video games. He's really reserved, but then around people he knows, he's super goofy.
Mm-hmm. All right, just let me finish up a few notes here. So out of all your family members, who would you say is the most vocal?
Probably either my mom or myself.
Okay. And then who you would say that your brother Joe is probably the most reserved?
Yeah, Joe or Jack, they're probably about the same.
Okay. Are there any other family characteristics I should know about?
I guess we're just really close as a family. My mom and I are really close, but as a family, I feel we're really cohesive and we have really strong family ties.
So where is your family home located?
Carroll, Iowa.
And would you consider that to be a rural or urban area?
Rural.
Is your community located next to any factories that might contribute to air pollution?
Not that I know of.
Okay. What social class would you consider your family?
Probably middle upper class.
Is your family satisfied with that social class?
Yeah.
Did your parents come from a similar social class?
My mom probably did, but my dad definitely didn't.
Okay, and how did that affect your family?
I think my dad coming from a family that wasn't very well off inspired him to be a harder worker and really go after being able to provide for his family, because he knows what it was like to live without enough, and he knows what it was like to not live comfortably, and so he didn't want that for his family.
And then what is the dominant political group in your community? If you don't know, that's okay too.
I guess I'm not sure.
Okay.
If I had to guess, I would guess Republican.
So does your family align with a political group?
Yeah.
What kind of household do you live in? Is it a single family home?
Oh, it's a single family home.
Okay.
Now it's just my mom and dad and my brothers that live there.
All right. So what is your neighborhood like in Carroll?
It's a fairly new neighborhood. We just built a new house we moved in when I was a senior in high school. So we live on a dead-end road, and it's really quiet, and we have a nice big backyard.
That's good. Do you feel safe in your neighborhood?
Yeah.
Is there anything that could be done to make you feel even safer, or do you think it's adequate?
I think it's adequate.
All right. What kind of school did you attend in your hometown? Was it private, public?
I attended the public school.
And what was that like for you?
It was okay. I probably wouldn't want to go back and repeat high school, but it was fine.
Does your community have easy access to healthcare and other necessities?
Yeah.
What other resources are available to you?
Well, the clinic is like a block away from our house, so that's really convenient access. And then the hospital is just a couple blocks away. And then there's like adequate access to grocery stores, other like pharmacy type things, a rec center. We have a public library. It's just like the right size of town to have everything that you need to have without having to go anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. All right, so asking some questions about other systems. How has college influenced the values your family has instilled upon you growing up? So, like,
Um,
have they changed? Have they stayed the same?
I would say probably stayed the same, just like been
Okay,
reinforced about like hard work and like being trustworthy and responsible and that kind of stuff.
okay. And then what kind of church does your, oh, hold on a second. How does your church influence your family?
I'd say the church plays a big part of our lives because my mom's really involved in it, and Jack is obviously really involved with it with being the worship leader. So it's pretty central to our family, I think.
And what kinds of relationship does your family have with its neighborhood back home?
I think they're really good. At first, it was kind of hard to get to know people in the new neighborhood, but now that we've lived there for a few years, we're really close to a lot of the people.
What kind of relationship do you feel you have with your nursing classmates?
Um, I feel like it's pretty cohesive. I mean, there's like people who obviously get along better with other people, but it's a comfortable environment.
And then what kind of a relationship do your parents have?
I would say they have a really strong relationship. It's been a really like a good role model relationship for me to see growing up.
What kind of relationship do you have with your brothers?
I think Jack and I have gotten closer since I've gone to school. Joe, when I'm at home, Joe and I are really close, but we don't really keep in that good of contact while I'm at school. But I think it's partially because of like the age that he's at. I'm not really that cool. So,
Yeah. So what kind of relationship do you have with like your grandparents?
my grandma on my mom's side, I'm really close with, and I was really close with my grandpa on that side until he passed away. But on my dad's side, I'm not as close to my grandma and grandpa.
And then how does your parents' work influence your family?
My dad, I guess sometimes gets stressed from work, but it doesn't really usually affect our family at all. He has a good enough job that my mom can stay at home, and she could stay at home when we were growing up. So that had a really big impact on us because we didn't have to go to daycare or like have babysitters because my mom was able to be home.
What is your relationship like with your extended family members?
I'm pretty close to my mom's side of the family, but to my dad's side of the family, we don't really interact that much, I guess.
Okay. And what kind of influence do your family's friends have on your family?
I think they have a really positive influence. A lot of our family friends have kids like the same age as us or go to our church, so we have a lot in common with them.
All right, so now moving on to some macro system questions. How has your family's culture benefited your family? Like being of like the Caucasian normal culture, or not
Um,
normal, I guess that's a bad way to put it, but
Carol is like predominantly Caucasian people. There's
mm-hmm.
probably like maybe 2% that aren't. And so I guess I just grew up like not knowing any different, which coming to school, like my eyes have kind of been opened about like all the different cultures and different ethnicities that are in America, and I was just like sheltered about that living in Carroll.
So would you say like coming to Mankato for school was a good
Mm-hmm.
experience for you?
Yeah.
Okay. And then how have political systems affected your family? Like any new like laws or anything like that that have
Um,
directly influenced your family?
I guess I'm not 100% sure. I'm not really good at like keeping up
Yeah.
with political stuff, but I know that like my dad's taxes like on his stuff and like our family farm have really gone up, so that's impacted us. But other than that, I guess I'm not really sure.
Okay. And then have any economic changes affected your family?
I don't think so.
Now talking about some like things that have happened over time. So have any losses in your family impacted your family?
My grandpa died. My mom's dad died when I was in 7th grade, and that was really hard on our family because us kids were pretty young. And my grandpa had brain cancer, so my mom had to be with him like at his appointments a lot, being a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
So our mom wasn't at home as much as we were used to, and then it was also like a great loss because we were really close to my grandpa. And then seeing my grandma change after she lost her husband.
Mm-hmm. So I know that your dad's adopted,
Mm-hmm.
and how has that influenced your family?
I don't know how it's influenced our family as a whole, but for me, it's just like really intriguing to like I really want to know about who his biological parents are just from a health standpoint, but that's something that he doesn't want to consider, and like when I've brought it up before, he gets really upset about it. But to me, I don't like not knowing that kind of stuff, so I guess that's probably been the only way that it's really impacted us. He doesn't really talk about it a whole lot, so.
So what other life-altering events have impacted your family?
My mom got diagnosed with melanoma when I was in high school. And she had like 2 spots taken off that were cancerous, but so I guess that just made us like a lot more aware about cancer and like cancer runs in our family, so it really made us like realize how many preventative measures we need to take in regards to our health.
Okay, so moving on to some functional aspects. So who is responsible for the caregiving in your family?
I would say probably my mom.
Okay, and how does she carry out that role?
Well, since she doesn't work outside of the home, she's like in charge of she does all the cooking and like keeping the house clean. And if anyone's ever sick, my mom's the best nurse to have at home with you. And she's like in charge of, before we all could drive, she would always run us to places and like keep everybody's schedule straight.
Okay. Does she enjoy that role?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how does your mom accommodate to your family's needs of changing?
I think sometimes it's hard. Like right now, Jack is getting ready to go to college, and so that's like been a change that's kind of been hard for my parents. But I think my mom is really open, and she only wants like what's best for us. So she and my dad will a lot of times like talk about things and then like reach common ground and like kind of help each other figure it out, I guess.
So who do you think you share the strongest emotional bond with?
My mom.
And why is that?
I think just like being the only girl in the family, and then during high school, like right before I went to college, we just got really close. We see things very similarly, like with her being a nurse. Um, she has lots of great advice to give, and she's just like really fun. So I consider my mom like one of my best friends.
How has your family changed over your lifetime?
I don't know if there's really been any like drastic changes, I guess. Since I went to college, I guess things have probably changed at home that I don't know about since I'm not there. Um, but like I said before, Jack and I have probably gotten closer since I went to college. So I guess just some like little relationship things have changed, but nothing really major.
How has your family adapted to that change, like of you going to college?
I think they're like partially still adapting. It's hard for me and my mom to like be so far away from each other, but I know she finds other things to like be busy with, and my brothers are busy with their own stuff, so they probably don't even notice that I'm gone, but
So who is the dominant communicator in your family?
probably my mom.
Okay. And when you have a health concern, do you immediately discuss it with your family or do you keep it to yourself?
I would immediately talk to my mom,
Okay.
especially.
Just because of her background of being a nurse?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's just like really comfortable for us to talk to each other, so.
And how else does your family communicate?
With me being at college, we text a lot and call a lot. But when I'm at home, it's mostly verbal communication.
Do you feel your family practices effective communication techniques?
For the most part, my brothers are really hard to talk to sometimes. They're just like in that teenager stage of not wanting to talk to anybody and like thinking that they know everything. So right now that's probably like difficult communication for my parents, but I have really open communication with both my mom and my dad.
All right, so talking about some celebrations your family practices, does your family regularly celebrate like holidays and birthdays together?
Yeah.
Okay. Oops, hold on a second. And how do you guys always get together? Like, is there ever a time when you guys haven't been able to get together as a family?
My immediate family, we always get together, but extended family, sometimes with my mom's side, it's really hard because her brother lives in Chicago and her sister lives in South Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sometimes hard, especially with the weather, to like get things scheduled and planned. So we don't see them very often, but my immediate family is really good about always making sure that we're together for that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So, what are some traditions your family practices?
I guess we don't have any like really specific traditions. Every Christmas, we always cut down our own Christmas tree,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one that we've done for a lot of years. And then I guess like you could say going to church is a tradition. I don't know. Every Sunday we go to church, and then my dad always makes brunch after church.
So, like, even during the year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, how does your religious practices influence your family's connectedness?
I think that it brings us more together, especially my mom and dad and Jack and me. Joe is still kind of young, I guess, for it. But my mom always says church kind of softens my dad, and so I think it makes connecting to one another easier, and like it gives us something to talk about too.
And then, who typically connects with whom at the end of the day?
Well, my mom and dad definitely would, but if I was at home and I guess still at school, I always check in with my mom like every night or every morning.
So you said your mom's kind of in charge as far as like scheduling goes.
Mm-hmm.
So you think that she's more in charge of scheduling than your dad?
Yeah.
Okay. And then how does each family's member's schedule coordinate with each other?
I think it's probably easier now that I'm gone because my schedule's a lot different than my brother's, but theirs kind of go together. They're both in swim team together, so like they have the same sporting stuff, which makes it easier for my parents to go to. It's not like one brother has one sport and the other one's in a different sport, so that makes it really easy. My dad's work schedule is sometimes hard because he travels a lot, but my mom is really flexible.
All right. So now talking about some structural like health routines in your family. So can you describe to me your family's typical diet? Like, is it relatively healthy?
Yeah, I would say it's healthy. My mom cooks a lot. We don't really go out to eat that much. And she's really good about cooking like healthy stuff ever since my dad had the high cholesterol test and like some heart blockage stuff. So he's really aware of what he eats now.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's at the door.